Hey everybody, Andrew here. Let's see, last week we looked at some of the biggest pots that I had won in 2009, and this year, I'm sorry, this week we're going to be looking at some of the biggest pots that I lost. Um, you'll see this is actually not all the hands that I played by any means last year. I started off trying to look at or to get hold of manager here to parse all 180,000 hands that I had played with exactly six players at the table, and it kind of froze up on me trying to process a database that big. So I decided to narrow it down to just hands I played at 10-20 no limit with effective stack sizes greater than 100 big blinds. You can see the filter I'm using up here. So it's 10-20 no limit with exactly six players at the table and with effective stack size greater than 100 big blinds. So we're going to be looking at some of the biggest pots that I lost in 2009. Um, One other thing I'll point out before we get started, you can just look a little bit at my statistics here. You can see this is fewer than 20,000 hands, so we don't want to read too much into this. But these are games that are played, mostly at deep stack 10-20 games, on almost exclusively on full tilt poker because they're the ones that have the deep stack tables. And so when it says effective stack size, this means the stacks of all players, or at least both players who ended up getting all the money in anyway, had more than 100 big blinds. So that is most likely going to occur at a deep stack table. And a lot of the deep stack tables on full tilt actually have antes as well. So when you look at my pre-flop statistics here, I'm at about 22-18. I think at a table without antes, I think that's just about where you want to be. At least if you play a kind of what I consider to be sort of the best style available, like the tough but fundamentally tight aggressive style. I mean, there are people who win playing like 32-28. There are people who win money playing 19-6, either very loose and aggressive or excessively tight, kind of like a rock style. But this is about where I want to play when there aren't antes. I think with antes out there, and not all of these hands were played with antes, but many of them were. With antes out there, I think my VPIP probably ought to be a little bit higher than this. Now, and part of this also is, you're playing with better people at 10-20. And I don't necessarily feel like I have an edge against any random player at a 10-20 table. So it's possible that I was playing a little bit more conservatively because I was yeah, I mean, I was not necessarily factoring in a skill advantage in some of the pots that I played. Usually, if I'm sitting at a 10-20 table, I'm not just going to sit down at any 10-20 table that's running. I'm usually going to sit down at a 10-20 table only if there's, I mean, not necessarily a giant fish, but there has to be a couple players where I'm pretty confident I'm better than they are. And that means usually I'm also playing with some people who I'm pretty confident that they're better than I am. So that's one reason why, even though I think theoretically it might be correct to play a few more hands than this, I'm a little bit tight sometimes when I'm playing at these 10-20 games, just because I don't necessarily feel like I'm always the best player at the table at those stakes.